Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown.
This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves.
And the selfie queen is back again, this time with a selfie book called Selfish. Kim Kardashian will soon release a selfie book with hundreds of selfies in it. The Keeping Up with the Kardashian star will give us an insight to her selfies that we haven't seen yet. But seriously, could there have been pics of Kim that have not made it to the internet? Well, yes. Check it out. And there's gonna be more of Kimmy K for you guys. As she grows older, the photos get sexier with her cleavage as the center of attention in more than 100 shots. We'll get to see pics of the star with her baby bump to her famous tush, and not forgetting all her Deep Valley cleavage images as well. Wow, ain't that super exciting?
I took a selfie at a red light while driving. I think that's illegal now.
I look naked, but I'm wearing a strapless dress.
Halloween is one of my favorite times of the year. I love dressing up. I was in the dressing room at Trashy Lingerie, deciding if I should get this costume. I did.
Thailand. I don't think I've ever taken as many selfies as I did in Thailand. It's one of the prettiest places I've ever traveled to.
I always take some pics at a photo shoot before I go out on set to make sure my glam is on point.
Fresh spray tan. I get so dark. Kanye calls it a yay tan.
I remember showing up to the red carpet with all of my sisters and no one recognized me.
I fell asleep in the sun in Mexico with huge sunglasses on. I had work a week later. It was so hard to cover this up.
Selfies. Sick of the word yet? Yes.
No, you are.
People share millions of them every day on social media.
In fact, 1/3 of all photos young people take are selfies. But what do they say about self-esteem? Action 7 News anchor Royal Day asked a licensed counselor what could be behind selfie obsession.
Selfies are a phenomenon, an avalanche, if you will, gaining momentum with each arm extension. The world seems obsessed with taking selfies and posting them online. They're most common in Australia, followed by the U.S. and Canada.
Let me take a selfie.
According to Samsung, selfies will account for almost 1/3 of all photos taken this year by people between the ages of 25 and 33. But it's not just younger adults. 40-year-old Ayana Frank is a mother of 3. Her family is tired of her selfie habits.
They have coined the phrase that I'm the queen of selfies. I don't think I am, but that's what they say.
Ms. Frank has 230 selfies on her Instagram account. She even has a t-shirt that says, "Love thy selfie."
Do I really like myself? I think everybody should.
When is this just vanity or a cry for help?
Sometimes it's just fun and it's okay. And then other times I think it might be the person seeking validation from outside.
Roxanne Pratt is a licensed counselor with Arbor Counseling. She says too many selfies may be an expression of someone's self-esteem issues. Maybe they don't feel good enough. Now, some young people who post selfies are likely seeking attention, positive feedback, and social validation. And Pratt says they may be relying too much on the response of others. Pratt says the selfie indulgence may be like a drug. There's a high and ultimately a low.
Posting selfies and getting 300 likes, that's not really going to last for you, because you really didn't do anything to earn it. The best way to deal with a selfie obsession, Pratt says, put this away. Go outside. Talk to people. Have real relationships. The old-fashioned ways of doing that are to have relationships with people in the community and friends and co-workers.
Pratt says if this is a big source of your socializing, or if posting online pictures of yourself and obsessing over others' photos is taking up a lot of your time, it's a problem.
Or maybe it's just kind of showing off, and for some people wanting to make people jealous, or, you know, and then that says something about that person, that they maybe really don't feel good about themselves deep down, and they need that, you know, kind of publicity, I guess, or feedback.
Ms. Frank isn't sure if she'll cut back on her portrait picture taking. She believes her posts are really just about celebrating life.
Are there things about myself that I may want to change? Naturally, I think that's anybody. At the same time, I think everybody's beautiful in their own way.
Royal Day, KOAT, Action 7 News.
According to some Samsung data, 1 million selfies are taken every day.
At this point, seeing people taking pictures of themselves in public is something to be expected. But the selfie obsession is now superseding smartphones and sticks. See this machine? It's called the duplicator, and it actually creates 3D selfies, what some would call detailed figurines of self-love. You step inside of this machine, which is outfitted with 54 cameras. They fire up all at once to take a full body scan. The images are fed through the company's patent software, and a 3D selfie is ultimately made. Dube 3D, the German company behind this innovation, has 8 machines around the world, including 2 in the U.S.
The statue takes it sort of to a new place, and it's a much different experience. You can say the selfie is just another way of taking a picture. This is, you know, gives you a little bit more insight into yourself. When you're getting a 3D statue of yourself, you're seeing yourself in a whole new dimension. You know, you're seeing yourself from all angles.
The 3D selfie ranges in size, costing between $95 and nearly $700. Those we spoke to had mixed opinions about the idea.
Maybe I would do it as a gift for someone else. I wouldn't do it for myself, I don't think.
It's like having a little doll of your own.
You have to really, really be into yourself and be confident to really want a statue of yourself.
Like a form of narcissism. It's a very beautiful one.
It's just like having a picture in a frame, I think.
The company stores customer data in its database in case someone wants an additional 3D selfie made. Those concerned about privacy can request that their data be deleted. But when's the last time you met a selfie addict who was concerned about privacy? Marina Portnaya, RT, New York.
A recent article in Time magazine takes a sharp poke at the millennial generation. That's the generation born between the 1980s and early 2000s. The cover calls them the me generation and describes them as lazy, entitled, narcissists who still live with their parents. The article blasts young people who constantly post pictures of themselves on Instagram and share every detail of their lives on social media like Facebook and Twitter. Well, joining us now is Dr. Linda Mintle. She's a licensed family therapist and author of Raising Healthy Kids in a Healthy World. Linda, great to have you on the program.
Good to be here.
Now, Linda, the Time article says these kids are narcissistic. Does the research bear that out?
Well, it's interesting. When they did the research, they found out that this particular generation was 3 times more narcissistic than previous generations. But there's also a study in NIH and the government that shows that when you factor all of these data and you put it in there, they really don't look that different than past generations. So then I looked at another study, and I looked at it again from a statistical analysis, and it does appear that this generation has a little bit more of the narcissistic kind of qualities and traits. It doesn't mean they're narcissists, but it means they're much more self-focused and self-centered. And if we think about our culture, this isn't a big leap for us to make, that maybe there's a lot more attention on the individual self.
Well, you have kids in this demographic,
I do.
And you know we all know people of this age who are on Facebook a lot and Twitter, and of course we don't even want to talk about the celebrities; they're everywhere. But does this really make them narcissistic, or are they sort of just doing what everybody's doing?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think, again, there is a little bit more focus on me and what I can get. But also we're in such a culture where image is so important, and we are kind of obsessed with image. Yeah. So that celebrity culture, that image-based culture where it's all about how I look, what I do, telling people all these details, that is a shift from years ago. And even though you and I may not be part of that generation and we're doing some of those same social behaviors, we're not quite as sharing of all the details and expecting, and thinking that our opinions, I think that one of the interesting things that came out is the millennial generation thinks that their opinions are just as valued as experts. And so if it's their opinion, it's just as important as someone else. That's a difference, again, in past generations.
Well, if this is true, that this generation really is very narcissistic more so than other generations, how is that affecting the church?
It really has had an impact. And one of the things that I've been reading about is that because this generation then thinks there are no rules, I make my own rules. That's part of that individualism that people feel. And because of that, I'm really not buying into organized religion. So I really don't have to do things the way that my, predecessors have done them. The rules aren't really there. I can kind of make up the rules as I go, which changes a lot because the Bible doesn't change. So that becomes a little bit of a problem.
Well, can the church adapt to these new trends?
Well, one of the things that I've seen is that there's the churches that are growing with millennials have sort of captured this whole individualism and kind of self-centered thing where they're really talking about the personal relationship with Jesus Christ, which is wonderful. Right. But they've also kind of geared everything to God has a plan for your life. So again, it's more about you and less about the sort of altruism of being a servant, of giving to others, serving others. And maybe what churches need to do is sort of bring people in with that, God has a plan, but then really work on, the church really has to work on this generation you need to be serving just for the sake of serving and be humble in everything that you do.
Amen. Well, the church needs to be smart, that's for sure. Linda, very fascinating interview. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks.
But I can do anything that I want to. I can engage in any activities that are so-called sinful activities and not really worry about any ecumenical councils making it right for me to do these things.
Living for, as I've said, all of the earthly and carnal pleasures.
A satanic world is a world reborn in purity, a world where the instinct and the intellect will be complementary to one another rather than being at odds with one another. It will be a world in which we follow laws of nature instead of just the rules that man's made up to regulate his conduct.
All right, we got one rule. There are no rules. Have a good time. Do what we want.
Now, if a Christian said to you, you were just really worshiping yourself, what would you say?
In a sense, they would be right. It is a form of self-worship.
We feel that there's no reason why these people shouldn't just flip the coin completely over and simply call themselves what religion has called them for many, many years. Call them devil worshippers or disciples of people practicing Satanism as good Christians or other religions. And they will instinctively pursue the very same things that we are, as they always have.
Whatever you believe is right.
We have no concern for the homeless, particularly. We don't have any concern in helping people. As Adolf Hitler said, we seek to bring about a youth that has closed its heart to pity.
My heart is the ruler of all my being. If my heart tells me it's true, that's good.
There's a cultural war right now on every front, in music, in literature, utilizing the media against itself. We're using music because that's the instrument that young people respond to right now. We're doing propaganda directly to awaken the wolf in man.
Own spiritual development. That is narcissism. That is what's feeding people. That's how they think. What's a narcissist, preacher? A narcissist is somebody that sees everything that they deal with in this world as it applies to them, because they are number one, and everything they do is for them. If something is said, it's for them. If something happens, it's for them. You ever heard of a selfie? We live in a generation today. If you ought to get on the internet, you ought to check this out. This will blow your mind. They've got pages on the web of people who photographed themselves right before they fell off of a cliff and died. They've got people who are photographing themselves right before they fell off of a building and died. Well, got people photographing themselves before they take the plunge into a pool and walk right into a body of water or off of the side of the road. They are so engrossed with self, they have no idea that there's another world out there. It's about me, myself, I. What can you do from me? I'm number one. I'm the end of all things. I'm the measure of everything. I am I.